Good morning to all of you out there. You almost caught me off guard as we open today's program. I'm just setting up our data here. And as you may have noticed, unlike other stations or other shows, we are not high tech because we are working from home. And unfortunately, this is the reality of work from home. In any case, welcome to the program today. It's June 29, Monday, and I do hope you manage to get some rest over the weekend. And if you are stressed out, chances are that there is nothing much we can do about that. We're all under quarantine, and as the week progresses, I think it's just going to be more of the same, and we will find out what's going on in other parts of the country through our guest today. We will be speaking with asik Marc deleon of the Department of Transportation, not asik, so sorry, USEC, Undersecretary Marc deleon, and we'll ask him for an update what happened during phase one of the opening of transportation services. Then we'll also ask about the future of jeepneys and what's in store for commuters here in Metro Manila. Then we'll be speaking with Congressman Rufus Rodriguez, who's a regular on the program, because Congressman Rodriguez was apparently upset about the decision of a Baguio court or a fiscal or whoever it was to exclude two senior officers of the Philippine Military Academy regarding the hazing death of Cadet Dormitorio who was killed at who died at the PMA. Now and then finally we will be speaking with our friend and associate Carlo Ople, who is a very popular, very well-known online personality, particularly on Facebook, because that seems to be the hot topic right now, Facebook, because many of its advertisers have decided to pull out their advertisements for the year because of commercials on Facebook, because of political content. Actually, let me correct that. They're pulling out their ads. These are major companies. They're pulling out their ads on Facebook because Facebook allegedly does not filter, does not censure, does not censor people and posts that are hate messages, racist, or just politically offensive. And initially, Facebook ignored that, but now that their losses are running into, I think, billions already or hundreds of millions, they've started to pay attention. In any case, we'll get on with all of that plus a lot more. But allow me, if you've had a rough week and you don't think the week is going to get any better, just allow me to remind you of this passage from the book of Philippians. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. And the reason I'm reading you that Bible verse of inspiration is because you're going to need all the inspiration you can get this week after we go through the news. And here are the stories from the front page of the Philippine Star. Okay, the Philippines has the fastest increase in COVID-19 cases in the Western Pacific region, according to a report of the World Health Organization. Data from WHO showed that the Philippines recorded 8,143 new cases from June 16 to June 27, the highest among 22 countries in the region. Singapore came in second with 2,351 new cases in the same period, followed by China with 302. This prompted the Department of Health, or DOH, to say that the comparison made with Singapore and other countries requires a deeper understanding of context such as population ratio, living conditions, and health capacity. Next up, the National Privacy Commission is working closely with various universities and colleges to draw up a privacy code of conduct as schools gear up for distance learning upon opening of classes in August. Privacy Commissioner Raymond Liboro said the Code of Conduct aims to guide and enable school managers, teachers, students, and parents to create a data privacy conscious environment, especially now that most activities are done online. It will set standard policies to prevent data breaches and for schools to be able to respond if such breaches take place. In other news, African swine fever or ASF continues to spread in the country, with culled pigs breaching the total 3,000 mark. In a report to the World Health Organization for Animal Health, the Philippines said 20 new outbreaks of ASF have been recorded and over 10,000 culled pigs have been added to the list. More than 309,000 pigs have been killed since the outbreak started in August 2019. Currently, there are 4,711 cases of ASF in the country. The highest number of killed pigs is in Malasiki in Pangasinan with over 3,000, followed by San Carlos City with almost 2,000. And the last news from the front page of Star, Facebook Incorporated said Friday that it'll start labeling content that violates the social media company's policies. This will include labeling all posts and ads about the US voting with links to authoritative information, including those from politicians. Facebook has drawn heat from employees and lawmakers in recent weeks over its decisions not to act on inflammatory posts by US President Donald Trump. Rival Twitter, on the other hand, had affixed fact checking labels to some of Trump's posts. As such, several companies have taken part in the ad boycott against Facebook, pulling out their US ads over the divisiveness and hate speech in social media platforms as the election period unwraps in the United States. Later on the show, we will talk with digital marketer and tech expert Carlo Ople to get a better grasp of this news and how this affects Filipinos. Okay, now we will go to our lineup for the day. I hope I can get everything going. Let's see. Okay. I think we're gonna have to wait on our first guest because he's still mobile, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go first to ASEC. Uh, okay, we will go to ASEC Mark DeLeon. I'm getting confused. Is he a USEC or is he ASEC? Let's find out from our friend himself, ASEC Mark De Leon of the DOTR. Good morning, Mark. Ano ba talaga? USEC ka ba o ASEC?
Asik lang, boss.
Okay, hindi. Kasi
Yeah.
akala ko USEC ka. In any case, well, you've been doing the work, a lot of work sa DOTR and kanya ka nga napapagkamalan. Ayan, mukhang papasok ka na. Wala nang ayos-ayos, wala nang forma-forma. In any case, ASEC, Mark, baka hingi lang ng update. First of all, nag-open tayo phase 1 ng ating transport system under COVID-19 or under community quarantine. Ano ang naging impact? Meron bang mga reported cases? Was it yung social distancing effective? Could you give us an assessment?
Good that you ask, Sir Sito. Based on our assessment, we have seen that some routes, admittedly, walang masyadong pasahero. Specifically, those areas going to the CBDs like Makati or Tigas. The buses there are around 25% capacity. So the
Mm.
load factor is definitely way below the expected load factor ng department, ano, and even the bus operators themselves. So the bus operators are saying they're running at a deficit. I think that is caused by a multitude of factors, Sir Sito.
Mm.
Some of the employees are already working from home, and some still has limited operations. So the expected volume of passenger demand is not there yet. But although in some streets, no, in some roads like in Commonwealth in Fairview, we are seeing that during peak days like Mondays and Fridays, there are concentration of commuters, no.
Mm.
This is also caused by a multitude of factors. Number one, talagang very high density residential area yung Commonwealth na yan. Another is some bus operators who are expected to run in those routes are not really fielding their units because again, chicken and egg. Wala silang nakikitang pasahero, hindi sila
Mm.
nagpatakbo ng authorized number of units nila. So it's a chicken and egg system now. We're looking at in terms of transportation and public transportation demand.
Okay, do you have the ability or the power to shuffle things around? Kasi natatandaan ko before COVID, there were some sectors saying the advantage of a government-run bus system is mapapaikot natin yung mga placement. We can maneuver the buses around where there is a need. Now, under this situation, under CQ or GCQ, mababalasa ba yan ng DOTR or it's still the call of the operator?
You have a good question, Sir Sito. No? Under the Bayanihan Act and definitely within the mandate of DOTR and LTFRB, we are authorized to rationalize the public transportation routes. And
Mm.
of course, the routes of these operators are still within their franchises. The state can anytime rationalize the routes according to the demand. No? And it's also, you have a point wherein sinabi mo, Sir Sito, that
Yeah,
government is the one running the system. This
yeah.
is also proposed under Bayanihan 2 Act, yung Bayanihan 2 Bill, wherein
Mm-hmm.
government pays for the runs of these operators, binabayaran na ng gobyerno yung kanilang mga biyahe para may laman o wala, may sakay o wala, babiyahe sila. At
Mm.
given headway, providing efficiency of public transport service. So it's already in the plan, Sir Sito. Itong
Okay.
contract servicing agreement na ito, ang hinihintay na lang natin is maipasa ito as a batas under the Bayanihan 2 Act, and this will provide budget to that type of contract service agreement. Napakaganda, Sir Sito, katulad sa Singapore wherein government is the one managing the public transportation service. Binibid out lang nila sa private operator yung mga ruta, and all of them are running through strict KPIs, no? If I
Yeah.
say you run 5 minutes headway, you will really run at a 5 minute headway, thereby providing an efficient public transport service.
Okay, yung pong KPI na sinasabi ni ASEC Mark, Key Performance Index, yung po yung ika nga, kailangan ito yung mga bagay na masunod mo kung kasali ka sa laro na ito. Now, na-mention mo na rin naman yung Key Performance Index, Mark, ASEC Mark. Matanong ko lang, tungkol dito sa mga sasakyan na ito, in-announce na ng DOTR ang pagbabalik ng, I think, 1,000 ba yun? O 10,000, 1,000 yata na UB Express. There is a fear, baka naman back to normal as in back to madumi, mabaho, or karag-karag. As far as the UV Express are concerned, is the LTFRB and the LTO doing anything? Because as you know, I'm close. I may friendship naman tayo sa LTO, hindi nga lang sa LTR, sa LTFRB. Pero wala pa kaming nadidinig na talagang ginawang testing, pagsusuri ng mga UB Express vehicles. What's the situation there?
You have a good point, Sir Sito. And the Secretary himself, Secretary Arthur Tugade, has really stressed that before we allow any new modes of public transportation during this GCQ period, is that they pass certain protocols. Number one is the roadworthiness. No? Number two
Mm.
is safety and security protocols. We have this social distancing requirements and even the sanitation protocols. All of this needs to be followed by these public transport operators, and it's part of the memorandum circular of LTFRB. And I think the UV transport operators will just need to follow these circulars. I think it's also already released yung circular na ito, Sir Sito.
Okay, papaano yung sa load factor? How will the load factor be? Because we have social distancing, and you know the nature of the UV Express is they make money based on as many passengers as they can have. Now, my worry there, asik marc, is baka naman umandar nga yung UV Express maging COVID Express naman yung mga yan.
You're correct, Sir Sito. So that's why the DOTR and LTFRB has required that the seating of the passengers inside the UV Express are seated one seat apart. So meaning sa isang row, usually apat yan sa isang row, Sir Sito, di ba?
Oh.
They will just allow two seats in one row. So less lang 50% yung kanyang capacity. So
Mm.
yun yung ating requirement, and dun sa harap naman din ng driver, usually dalawa yung sinasakay ng driver diyan. Isa
Mm.
lang yung i-allow natin na nasa tabi ng driver. Aside from that, what other measures is that we're requiring that the driver put impermeable barriers between the driver and the passenger, because since the driver is servicing hundreds of commuters daily, it's important that the driver is also protected from the disease. So, kailangan yung impermeable barrier para kahit na may umubod dyan sa likod niya, hindi siya matalsikan nitong COVID virus na ito.
Well, mabuti na banggit mo yan because ang next question ko is about air conditioning. Dahil alam mo, may mga nakausap akong doktor at sinabi nila, Sito, mag-ingat ka sa confined spaces. Mag-ingat ka sa mga closed area if you ever go out kasi dyan pinakamatlupit, pinakamatindi ang COVID-19. What is the policy as far as air conditioning is concerned?
Sir Sito, we're waiting for any guidance from the health authorities regarding air conditioning. Ano? But as we speak, we haven't received any specific guidance on air conditioning from the Interagency Task Force, IATF, and also from DOH. But if there will be proof that indeed inside the UV Express cars or even public transport vehicles, air conditioning is promoting the transfer of COVID, then DOTR
Okay, I think we lost our. Oh, there,
will
there, there.
change
Go ahead.
its the DOH guidelines and the interagency task force guidelines on air conditioning, Sir Sito.
Okay, meron bang agreed protocol? Kasi, okay, so pag may nagbigay na ng DOH guidelines, good. Now, eto, maraming magagalit sa akin dito, Asik Mark, but I don't really care. I don't really care because right now, you are going to implement limited number of passengers, kailangan may impermeable barrier, etc. Eh, paano naman yung mga tint? Kasi alam mo, yung tint na yan, eh, laging nagagamit yan para matago kung sobrang overloaded na, etc. And apparently, there are also doctors who are saying, you know, those tints are blocking the sunlight and what you need against
UV,
COVID-19 is UV. So
correct.
that's the other concern now. Itong mga tinted na ito. Pati nga mga police car, naka-tinted na eh.
Yeah, you're correct, Sir Sito. In fact, pre-COVID, I think LTO was already about to release a memorandum circular, ano,
Mm.
regarding the use of tints. Siguro napurnada lang because of this COVID. But good that you reminded me, and we will remind the LTO about that draft regulations on regulating yung paggamit ng tint in our public transport vehicles and even in private vehicles, Sir Sito.
Okay, now going to another topic, jeepneys naman tayo, ASEC Mark. There is the proposal of the Honorable Secretary. Medyo sinulat ko nga sa column ko ngayon, parang tinaasan niya yung kanyang offer from 80 to 160. Now, it just so happens that that's the ballpark na sinasabi ni Zenny Maranan na kung gusto nila, bayaran na lang nila ng 30 mil yung mga bulok at 200 yung mga matitino pa para makaalis na kami dito sa trabahong to. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. I think there is now this sentiment na maybe it's time to get rid of the jeepneys on the streets. Palitan na natin yan ng mga modern vehicles. Kasi mabigat, dilapidated ng karamihan, polluting, etc. Now, we are at a situation where the money is being offered. What is really the choice? Is it really selective o phase out na lang talaga? Total, tatanggapin naman yung bayad.
You're correct, Sir Sito. No? The department has, in fact, doubled the subsidy being provided for public transport operators, jeepney operators, to modernize their fleets. No? And
Hmm.
we have been doing this since 2017. The department has already signed the department order way back in 2017. And na-highlight lang siguro, Sir Sito, today in this pandemic because the same policies of public transportation, an efficient, safe, reliable public transportation is very much needed during this times of quarantine, during
Hmm.
these times of pandemic. We want efficient public transportation. Sinabi ko kanina, Sir Sito, during in Commonwealth or in those areas, hindi nagiging reliable ang public transportation because why? People, the jeepney operators, the drivers are running on boundary basis. Kung sa tingin
Oh.
niya hindi siya kikita, hindi siya tatakbo. So those are the realizations that the department is having, and the same policies on modernization, the same policies on improving public transportation is being applied. So akala ng mga public transport operators, we're pushing modernization, mali po yan. And we're pushing that since 2017.
Hmm.
Unfortunately nga, the same policies are very, very much important in really providing public transportation during these times of pandemic, Sir Sito.
Okay, now ano ba naging on a lighter note, no? Ano naman ang naging reaction ninyo mga tiga DOTR nung sinabi ni Secretary Teddy Locsin, Teddy Boy Locsin na etong mga modern jeepney ay mukhang kamukha ng inflated condoms, mukhang condom daw na nahipa ng hangin. Uh, I think may laman eh. May laman yung bitaw niyang ganon. Kasi if we're gonna call them jeepneys, they need to look like jeepneys. Now, if we can't make them look jeepneys because we want modern vehicles, is there any other way to make these modern vehicles iconic of the Filipino transport system?
Yeah, Sir Sito, number one, the public transport operators are the one who are buying these models, and there are very much available models to choose from. I think from the latest count, almost 50 models from
Mm,
almost 30 manufacturers are available now para pagpilian ng mga public transport operators. Yun
mm,
lang, the operators are buying those who looks like modern buses. And we are already veering away from calling them jeepneys. We're calling them actually modern PUVs. That's why ang tawag namin dito sa programa is
mm.
PUV modernization, Public Utility Vehicle Modernization, instead of just calling it as jeepney modernization because we are modernizing the all public transport modes, no, across all modes of public transportation. We are modernizing. The buses are being converted into low floors. The
Uh-huh.
jeepneys are being converted into more convenient modes of transportation. So, talagang lahat po yan minomodernize natin. On the jeepney, Sir Sito, the manufacturers chose that kind of design because it's easier for them to manufacture. They're using now yung mga robotics, di ba? Yung mga stamping
Oh.
plants. And the old jeepney, as we see, is very much labor intensive. So the
Mm.
manufacturers are veering away from that labor intensive design. And number two is that anywhere else in the Philippines, you are already seeing modern jeepneys. Like, for example, Sir Sito, if you've been to Iloilo,
Oh.
their jeepneys there are not really the iconic jeepneys, and yet the people there doesn't really complain. Di ba? As
Uh-huh.
you have seen, yung mga pasahero social in Iloilo, the people there doesn't complain because number one talaga, yung the function of jeepneys, the function wherein you provide public transportation, secondary na lang sa Sito, sa mga tao doon, yung form, which is the old iconic jeepney. So, talagang number one pa rin, Sir Sito, if we are listening to the commuters, importante pa rin sa commuters natin yung function ng jeepney na maaliwalas, yung convenience sila, and they are feeling safe, Sir Sito.
Okay, so last question ko na lang ulit. Babalikan ko lang yung first question ko. Yung nung nag-roll out tayo, okay naman. There were hitches, there were problems. But I think the biggest fear right now, lalo na dahil doon sa headline na lumabas na tayo yung fastest rising number of cases in the Western Pacific region. Nung nag-roll out tayo ng ating transport system phase 1, meron bang mga naging na-report na cases of community transmission dahil sa pagsakay ng mga truck, ng mga bus, MRT, or wala naman?
We haven't received any, but we'd like to think na we're really introducing public transportation on a gradual, calculated basis, Sir Sito, because your
Mhm.
fear is the same as mine. Ayaw natin masisi later on yung ating DOTR na naging cause kung bakit naging doble palalo yung COVID rito sa Metro Manila and the rest of the Philippines. So,
Mhm.
doble talaga yung ginagawang pag-iingat natin dito sa pag-i-introduce ng public transportation. Alam po natin, yung mga Pilipino, pag binigyan mo yan ng kalsada, babiyahe yan. Pag binigyan mo yan ng masasakyan, babiyahe yan kahit na walang rason or walang specific objective. Talagang magjo-joyride lang yung mga yan. So, again, we're introducing public transportation, calculated, gradual, and limited. Talagang iniiwasan natin yung transmission ng COVID through this public transportation.
Well, I really appreciate that answer, Asek Mark, because that is very honest, very transparent, and I think that's what Filipinos in Metro Manila need to hear. Na our transport system is to service those who need to travel, and it is not intended at the moment for joyride, convenience, or para lang mamasyal kasi meron pa rin tayong COVID-19 and we are still under community quarantine. Thank you very much, Asek Mark De Leon, and please stay safe, stay strong, stay healthy, and God bless you.
Thank you, boss. Anytime.
Okay, that's ASEC Mark De Leon of the Department of Transportation. Yun po, no? I really appreciate that kind of engagement because it's honest. It's honest, it's informative. Wag na po nating pagandahin yung sitwasyon. Ang transportation po para maghatid ng tao, hindi para maghatid ng mga mamamasyal, kung hindi yung mga kailangan pumasok sa trabaho. At the first and foremost is, and that's really my biggest concern, yung pag-open mo, biglang magkakahawahan, which is what's happening in America. Okay, let's go to our next guest. We have Congressman Rufus Rodriguez, and we will speak to him about this issue. Medyo kinaputok ng butsi ni Congressman Rufus itong nangyari sa PMA. He is the 2nd District Representative of Cagayan de Oro and Chairman of the Committee on Constitutional Reforms. Congressman Rufus, are you there?
Good morning, Sito. I'm here.
Okay, Kong, good morning and ikaw lang yata ang nadinig kong nagalit do sa nangyari sa Baguio regarding the case of cadet dormitorio if I'm not mistaken.
Well, hindi lang ako. Ang pamilya din ni Darwin Dormitorio. I am very much interested here because they are my constituents in Cagayan de Oro City. The
Oh,
Dormitorio family is from my city.
Mhm.
And that's the
I
reason
didn't.
why I have to
Okay.
take up the cudgels, Sito. So Dexter Dormitorio, the brother of Darwin Dormitorio, has given his statement regarding the death of his brother, and they are
Mm.
dissatisfied. And really, they were really quite, they complain about the filing of the cases, excluding the PMA superintendent and the commandant of cadets, because
Mhm.
they clearly the law will apply to them because they knew everything. They did not stop it, and Darwin died.
Mhm. Okay, now but the city prosecutor excluded. There are suggestions na either he doesn't understand the law or there is a familiarity in the community.
Yes, I believe that is why, as a background, Sito, the
Mm.
Department of Justice directed the NBI, not the police, to investigate the death of Darwin Dormitorio. And the
Mhm.
reason for that is the issue of familiarity. We cannot take it, it's they are in the same community, Baguio
Mm.
City. The
Okay.
PMA superintendent are from there, also the police. So to give some, unbiased and objective investigation, Secretary Medardo Guevara directed the NBI, not the police, to investigate the death of Darwin Dormitorio. And so the NBI came out with a finding, and that is why in the investigation, PMA Superintendent Ronnie Evangelista, who is a
Mhm.
Lieutenant General, and the Commandant of the Cadet Corps, who is a Brigadier General, Vicente Bacaro, were
Mhm.
included because according to the statement of the NBI Regional Director Hector Eduardo Geologo, he said, and this is very, very clear, and that's why the prosecutor should have been guided with this. He said that we deem it proper that the instances of torture, and hazing had been extensive and ongoing, and they were properly reported and officially reported as per their standard operation of the academy. But these
Mhm.
officers, according to the NBI, neither lifted a hand nor exerted efforts for these to be investigated and implement appropriate actions if warranted so as to prevent the propagation thereof. Close quotation. Now, this is the finding of the NBI. Now, how is it that the prosecutor's office in Baguio did not include these officials, Comrade Cito?
Yeah, but that's bad enough as it is, given what the NBI findings are. But the fiscal also excluded, I think, what, three or four cadets. It excluded Cadet Sanopao, Cadet Ray David John Volante, Cadet Vincent Manalo, and Major Rex Bolo and Captain Jeffrey Batistiana for lack of probable cause. Parang I don't want to prejudge because it's still there, but it's kind of weird because if I go back to the news back then, there were this thing didn't happen, between one or two people. It was
Yes.
apparently there was a conspiracy to do this.
Correct. In fact, we also would really the family would want that the other four cadets and officials should also be included. Those are all in the findings of the NBI. You know what
Mm-hmm.
happens, Sito? There are three instances of hospitalization. In other words, three instances of maltreatment of Darwin Dormitorio. In the first one, he was hospitalized, and the PMA officials were informed about this. And then after that, he was again mauled. And then he was in the hospital. And then the third time he was in the hospital, he died because the second mauling and hazing hastened really the collapse of many of his organs. And so therefore, this particular situation showed that the that the heads of the PMA were really complicit because they knew that it was happening and they did not lift a finger to stop it. And that is very clear in the anti-hazing law. Those
Mhm.
officials higher ups, because they can always say, we did not know. Our anti-hazing law is very clear that when the heads of educational institutions, like in the case of PMA, a
Yeah.
military educational institution, once it is very clear that they learned about this, and here they learned 3 times, and it is ongoing, and not only that, Sito, everybody
Mm.
knows that this goes every year. It's just that in this particular case, Darwin Dormitorio died, and 4 others were hospitalized. This is massive. It's the entire plebe class, and everybody knows it. Does the
Mhm.
prosecution not know this? This has been going on. And it
Yeah.
has, therefore, here it is the time for us to implement the law to stop once and for all these higher ups, because if you don't prosecute these heads of the educational institutions, nothing will happen in this country. Hazing will go on. So this is very clear. And so we should be able to have our Secretary Guevara review this, and Secretary Guevara would know about this. And if there's any
Mhm.
educational institution where hazing is institutionalized, this particular very old lex talionis, the law of the jungle,
Mhm.
which is very beastly, it is the PMA, and that is why we have to therefore file the case against these higher ups and the other four who were complicit in conspiracy with having this particular hazing, Sito.
Is that enough, Congressman? And to our viewers, please don't get me wrong. I'm doing my job as a host of the program. Well, Congressman, is that enough? Because there were people who I think they were from the academe who at one point suggested, if you want to eradicate hazing at the PMA, what you need to do is stop the recruitment until you graduate everybody that is already on board. In other words, you remove the upper class system, the system of passing on these
It
bad practices, and also, I suppose,
start anew.
remove even the the faculty and start anew.
That is one proposal, but to prevent our military, our Air Force and Navy from in 4 years, in 4 years of school, would be difficult on our part, on the part of the need to have our military receive these graduates for service to our country. But I
Mhm.
believe that if we just strongly, through first to the president, and then the Secretary of National Defense, and then the Armed Forces Chief of Staff, that the three of them will be able to really make sure that the PMA commandant, now the new commandant, if you can notice after the two officials were relieved, those involved in the murder through hazing, has said that from now on, no more hazing. And we will take it for that he would implement that this coming school year, I think they will continue the school year. There has been
Mhm.
examination. It will not be done anymore, and this can be the start because of what happened to Darwin Dormitorio. So we have to have a solution that may not also deprive our
Mhm.
need for our young officers in the three branches of our armed forces, the uh, the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, Sito.
Okay, now what are there any studies, or have we actually hired a group of experts to study the PMA? Kasi they have remained a kingdom to themselves for the longest time. Pag may namatay, doon lang tayo lahat concerned o
Yes,
pumapasok. There's not even I've spoken to some cadets in the past, and they were saying there is no value ethics and values and moral courses, maybe 3 units lang, parang it's all military, but not enough on the civics, and then also, of course, the system where no one really does research for the improvement of the institution.
I agree with you, Sito, and I should be able to therefore draft a bill that will create a commission to make a study on how to eradicate this hazing and to
Mm.
make our PMA cadets be close to each other, not because of physical beating done from the upperclassmen to the plebes, because when you are to want to become brothers, it is not only to physical but through you are together for 4 years. You have the same goal to preserve the republic. Is it that enough that you will always, the concept here, the hazing, according to these graduates there, is to assure that in the battlefield, they will try to really protect each other. Well, can they not do that through their through their training? They eat together, they sleep together. Do you have to beat them to the pulp and kill them to be able
No,
to be brothers in fighting the insurgency? These are things that are of the past. So,
I'm
but I think
sorry.
you are right. You are
No,
right,
no.
Sito, that
You know
there
why
should be a
I'm laughing.
commission to study that.
Yeah, the reason I'm laughing is because I know PMAers. I mean, these are elderly PMAers who talk about a fellow PMAer who abandoned them in the thick of a fight. So I don't believe that BS about about hazing, making men and loyal men. But in any
Yes.
case, sorry, bigla ko lang naalala na dalawang beses pa nga raw silang iniwanan ng magaling na lalaki na yon. Mahilig
Yeah.
tumakbo pag naiipit na. In any
No,
case, going back to this hazing institution, because I mean the PMA has served well, has served the nation, has produced good students, good officers. The question is, can we not transition the PMA into a more professional organization, more parang private sector organization ba? Kasi right now, it's run by military, serves the military, and therefore has to be military. But that doesn't necessarily mean the best, the brightest, and the most professional. If you were to transform it and bring in civilian experts, subject matter experts, and not
yeah.
necessarily military, baka magbago. Parang you remember that movie of Danny DeVito ba yun? Yung The Renaissance Man?
Yeah.
Bringing a different perspective and raising better quality officers.
I think so. I think precisely there should be a commission to be able to, for example, civilians, professors who are not in the military, who will teach very important subjects there. And in
Mhm.
fact, when I was when I was in my second term in that hearing of the budget of the armed forces, which included the PMA, I said, I volunteer to teach there and
Mhm.
inculcate, for example, yeah, inculcate, for example, ethics in government, for example, history of the great generals of the world, because they
Mhm.
inculcated, discipline and all of that. And so I agree that with the commission, we should have a mix of military subjects and civilian subjects, wherein civilians will have to be there and to be able to teach them about being able to have to finish this course without really beating the others, those incoming plebes. And
Mhm.
so that will be a part, Sito. I am now reminded that we should have a commission to study this, especially now. Ito, nawala na naman ang prosecution ng the big two. Paano naman yan? So there
Mhm.
has to be a study. The only problem now is in COVID-19. We cannot go to the PMA right now because before the COVID-19, we intended to have as inspection some
Mhm.
congressmen. I have already talked to our chairman of the committee on defense, Chairman Boboy Tupas, and he
Yeah.
said, yeah, it would be a great idea to go there and see for ourselves what they are doing, and so that. But I think I bet it's a commission to study the PMA and to be able to inculcate, as you have said, more civilian subjects and more civilian professors, professionalized, the armed forces and to really stop the hazing, to give no opportunity to hazing anymore in the Philippine Military Academy.
Okay, now going back to this problem where the fiscal excluded the top two officials, excluded four, I think, four cadets. What is your game plan? Can you actually get that back on the dockets or whatever you call it? And then can you actually take action against that fiscal? Kasi medyo parang a sensational case like that and you exclude the top two officials of the institution.
Well, the family of Darwin Dormitorio, I am in touch with his brother,
Mhm.
Dexter, certainly will be filing a petition for review with the Secretary of Justice. And
Okay.
the dormitorios have a lawyer, and that is the procedure. Anybody agree with a decision of the Office of the Prosecutor in a certain place, like Baguio City, can go to this department secretary, Secretary Guevara, and that is why I urge the secretary to have a second look on this and look at the law itself. And the law,
Mhm.
anti-hazing law, is very clear. This has happened three times. The dormitory went to the hospital.
Hmm.
They have known, these officials knew that this is going on for that particular time because I think that they knew even before the years before this has been done, except that nobody died. And so therefore
Hmm.
many went to the hospital, but nobody died. But here, our constituent from Cagayan de Oro, my constituent, Darwin Domitorio died, and with him died his dreams to serve our country. And so therefore, the family with their lawyer will be filing a petition for review of this particular DOJ resolution of Baguio. And hopefully, this will be brought to court. Now, we are not saying that by automatically, when there is already a amended information, because the two high officials will be there, at least they are brought to their day in court. Because precisely it is now the court should be able to decide that is whether there's evidence or not. The
Hmm.
prosecution should first bring it there and do not act like God or the judge, because it will be different if these are brought to the court. Let the court decide and let the court see all the evidence. So that is what you're asking for. It does not
Hmm.
mean that if they are included, convicted na sila. No, the courts will be there open. But as stated by the NBI, clearly, these people knew, and therefore the anti-hazing law will apply. And therefore, they're liable for murder because by hazing under the anti-hazing laws, Comrade Cito.
Yeah. Congressman Rufus, I don't even know the name of the fiscal and I'm not asking you, okay? It's
Yeah,
just my, it is a position I'm taking para walang personalan and
wala nga.
that I'm not against that fiscal. But, this is not the first time such controversy has happened
Yes,
involving state prosecutors or fiscals na parang,
yes.
teka, hindi mo trabahong desisyonan who is guilty and not
Yeah.
guilty. That's the judge. Now, in situations like this, what are the possible liabilities or consequences to a fiscal if, let's say, Secretary Maynard Guevara goes, oy, mali yan, refile it, and then the judges or the court says, yeah, they should all be included in the case. What happens to a fiscal who did this?
Well, there are procedures, there are administrative procedures to make the fiscal responsible through the process of the DOJ itself investigating.
Mhm.
The second is another administrative case to the Integrated Bar of the Philippines, that they
Mhm.
have committed this very grave injustice. And the third is the ombudsman. That's the criminal case. But at this point, I would just really say that there is still a chance for correction through the
Mhm.
department secretary. So we do not want. I do not also know the name of the fisc prosecutors. They are the investigating prosecutors, the approving
Mhm.
prosecutor, and then the signing prosecutor. The tatlo yan pipirma eh. Investigating
Mm.
prosecutor, then the
Okay.
supervising prosecutor, and then we have the city prosecutor of Baguio. So tatlo
Mhm.
yan. But at this time, we are not yet going to file cases against them, nor
Mhm.
the families, because there is a big chance that the secretary will reverse that and then file that.
Mhm.
But if not, if the secretary does not, then we have to really get all the means, the possible ways, the two administrative cases and the criminal case, which the
Mhm.
family would be able to file against these prosecutors.
Well, no, the reason I'm asking that is not really direct related to the case, but alam mo na many such cases have happened in the Philippines where I know one one lady na hinaras siya pagkatapos na-dismiss yung kaso kasi yung piskal at yung mga pulis magkakaibigan. And
Mhm.
she had no idea. I know of a case where may nag-argue, inatake sa puso yung mama during the argument. Next thing
Mm.
I know, yung kabilang party was in court for manslaughter or murder or homicide kasi he caused out the death of the person. And
Ah,
months after, the judge said, "Who, what idiot brought this case to my sala?" Asar na asar yung judge kasi sabi niya, "This should never have even reached my sala." So
mm.
there are instances talaga na may mga piskal na either wrong call or miss call or talagang bad call. And that's why I was asking kung so pwede palang file na administrative case,
Yeah,
pwedeng pumunta sa ombudsman, and
yeah.
pwedeng pumunta sa Integrated Bar of the Philippines.
Yes, these are the three options for lawyers. For example, against prosecutors, against judges, lawyers. They can go to the IBP for discipline, and then the Secretary of Justice for discipline, and the Ombudsman for criminal case against them. So there are many instances. Yes, marami na file against prosecutors in the Ombudsman, and also some prosecutors have also been disciplined by the Supreme Court. And so these are possible things if there is a clear grade of abuse of discretion tantamounting to really bad faith. And
Mm.
many are happening. And, and certainly there are also prosecutors found to not only, are familiar with the other parties, but received consideration, illegal consideration. And so these
Mm.
are the things that have been corrected through the aggrieved parties going to the proper courts and the proper agencies,
Mm.
Conrad Sito.
Okay, well, I just want to emphasize one point here. I thank you and I respect you for taking up the cudgels for the dormitory family. Kasi, alam mo, matagal ko nang pinaniniwalaan na yan that a congressman, a representative, must be accessible to the people of his district who voted for him, and he must be their voice. And I really commend you for taking up the cudgels because kailangan po ganun, and I hope you can promote that among your colleagues that hindi lang puro batas, hindi lang puro politics,
Yeah.
go back to your constituents and represent them. Now, another point, my executive producer Gab Malyari is asking, ano na nangyari dyan sa stimulus package? Kasi I remember 1 month ago, rarara, sis Bomba, biglang sabi ng Malacanang, manigas kayo,
Teka
wala na
muna.
tayong pera, wala
Pera.
tayong mauutangan. What's the real situation?
Well, what we approved in the House are two packages for 2 years. 2020, the House approved our Bayanihan 2. It's called Arise, Accelerated Recovery with Economic Stimulus Package. And the first one is for 2020 this year. Hahabulin natin na matulungan yung labor sector, yung tourist sector, ang lahat ng mga industries, the SMMEs, in other words, the micro, small, and medium enterprises. So the first package, Sito, pertains to 2020 is 568 billion.
Mm.
And we give to the DTI, for example, 40 billion to be able to give assistance to the micro, small, and medium enterprises. We give another 50 billion to the tourism industry, another 70 million to labor for the workers laid off, both or returning OFW. So a total of this is 568. And then for 2021, we wanted to have a build that's about 680 billion because the biggest stimulus for our country is when we are able to build roads, buildings, because it will have a multiplier effect on the materials needed, on the people employed. And so
Mm.
a total of 1.3 billion. Immediately, the Malacanang balked because precisely the problem really is the money. And so now there is now a discussion between the Senate, because the Senate also passed there's about 400 billion.
Mm.
So we are trying to not really far from our 2020, because we should not discuss the 1.3, because the 680 is for 2021. That can be included in the budget, but it's 568, and to the Senate about 300 to 400. So they are now meeting. Speaker Cayetano, our speaker, and Deputy Speaker El Rivera Fuerte are now in talks with the Senate. And not only that, they are now
Mm.
also in talks with Malacanang, with the economic team, because the economic team is saying that it will be difficult to finance even the 568. So therefore, we should be able to have them come out, because the special session, which we are asking, which I also filed a resolution in Congress to already have the special session, to to be able to have this, because right now our workers are suffering, our micro, small, medium entrepreneurs are suffering, the tourism industry, agriculture, our farmers, fisher folks, all the sectors of our country are suffering because of COVID-19. And so
Mm.
therefore, the special session, I'm sure will be called, but only when the two branches of government, the executive and the judicial, the executive and the legislative, and the legislative has two houses, the three of them would be able to meet and come out with make a funding, a budget that will be properly can be raised by the government. And that is what we're waiting for, Sito. So it should be forthcoming, because we have been talking for the past 3 weeks.
3 weeks, okay. Now, a difference of maybe 1 to 200 billion baka mo.
Billion, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
1 to 200 billion. Because 580 kayo, yung kabilang grupo 400, yung
That's
Senado
correct.
400. So
Mm.
malamang magsasara ang parada sa 500. Parang sabong, ano?
Possibly. Yeah.
500, larga na yan. Now,
Pwede na. Oh.
oh, di ba? But here's the question. What is the problem? And I don't know, maybe I simplify things so much. Kasi anong problema nung mga nasa finance na nagsasabing, wala tayong pagkukunan yan. I mean, for in the past month, past year, they were all saying our credit ratings are so good, our numbers are so good, people are lining up to lend us money. Bakit bigla ngayong walang pera, wala tayong pagkukunan yan? What is the real situation?
No, no. They were just really afraid that it will be quite big. No? If you add the 2022, 1.3 trillion, dun sila sa shock eh. And then
Mm,
I think even the 568 of the House for this year may be a little, it may be something else, because they don't want to include ito yung mga borrowings to finance daw a budget, supplemental budget, because only revenue, but the
mm,
loans are not considered revenue from the World Bank, from the ADB. So these are technicalities. But what we are
mm.
saying is that this can all be used to be able to meet the COVID-19. So I believe that upon this talk, we will be able to find that, because actually our budget for our country for this year is 4.1 trillion. And
Yeah,
out of that, because of the Bayanihan one, based on the report of the president, it has already discontinued projects and realigned and released 300 billion. And
mm,
so only 300 billion. So therefore, if we add, for example, 500 billion, which may be the ballpark figure, we are talking only here of realigning and getting the proceeds of the loans of only 800 billion. And that is
yeah.
manageable, as I believe so. So I think they were just, the Malacanang had just in initial, fear because of the 1.3 trillion. But if you come to this, it's 500 billion, reasonable. And so I think they will be able to have that. And so give all sectors from the 500 billion, give to the tourism industry, the airlines support. They are
Yeah.
now laying off
but
people.
Kong, yeah, but
Yes,
Kong, sorry, I need to interrupt you there, no? Kasi if you've read the headlines today, sabi tayo yung highest number of cases, and then there are politicians who are saying, before we give money to all of these corporations and industries, let's help the helpless muna, the voiceless and the helpless, the employees, the laborers who have nothing. And I this morning I have to express things like a regular Filipino. Parang ang dami-dami yung pinag-uusapan, not you but government, ang dami-dami yung pinag-uusapang pera, pero nasaan yung pera? Saan ginagastos yung pera? I guess there is now a growing interest, if not concern, that with all this talk about billions or trillions, where is it? There is no public accounting or at least information ba? Hindi katulad ng tulay, kalsada, oh, Kong, ito ginastusan ko na 1 billion yung distrito mo, pinatayuan ko ng runway at tulay in one. Where's the money, as the Americans would
well,
say?
well, you are correct that there are many people concerned that we give to the most needy of our country. And
Mm,
precisely, our Bayanihan to Heal as One Act, Republic Act 11469, clearly gives the first support as is the emergency subsidy or the SAP, the Social Amelioration Program.
mm,
And almost 200 billion has already been expended there. And so that's for
mhm,
the most needy. 18 million low-income families and the president are directed to add the 5 million low-income that were left out. Wala sa first tranche because
mm,
precisely the list of the DSWD was 2015 vintage, 5 years ago. So there were those who were not given. So 18 plus 5 naging 23. So that
mm.
is what is being given first, no? The most needy. And there were also funds given for the laid off workers, and that's what you call the CARES program to the employees. And so therefore, those who were laid out. So nauna talaga yan. And it's being done. But at the same time, we need to help our entrepreneurs because after all, we want them to continue hiring people, to continue
Mm.
with the employees. Otherwise, the number of those unemployed will burgeon, will really increase so much if we do not also support the businessmen. And that is
Mm.
why it's about time now. It's already about 4 months since March, and we have to give them support because many are becoming bankrupt. And if we don't help, too bad. We will kill the goose that lays the golden egg, so to speak. And that is
Correct.
why it's about time that we already pass the Bayanihan 2 and go to the tourism industry because if we don't help the airlines, the hotels, they will continue to lay off our workers. But the farmers also and the fisher folks, they also need some support. And then almost like the labor force through Dole. And then on this stimulus, there's also a 150 billion that will not be coming out from revenues because they will be coming from the PNB, I'm sorry, from the Land Bank and the DBP. This will be no interest loans to be given to the
Mm.
different entrepreneurs. So
Okay.
you are right, Sito. So we have addressed already the most needy, and let us now go now to industry, to entrepreneurs who are going to make sure that the needy will have to continue to have work, Sito.
Okay. Kong, I'll have to close our interview at this point, but please, kailangan natin mag-part 2 because naubusan lang ako ng oras, but I want to really talk to you about the build for 2021 kasi
Yes,
puro kalsada, puro tulay, puro pier, pero no one is still talking about better public housing, better public spaces para maalis itong mga squatters, colony, mga dikit-dikit at nagkakahawa-hawahan because that's our problem. Anyway,
uh,
thank you very much, Kong.
as usual, thank you for your invitation. It's my honor to be able
Okay.
to be with my comrade Sito once again and to give
Okay.
information about the dormitory case and also about our Bayanihan 2 possible bill in the coming session. Thank you very much. Ug maayong
Okay.
buntag, Sito.
Mayang bundag, Commissioner, comrade. Okay, stay strong, stay safe, and stay healthy. And that's Congressman Rufus Rodriguez. At yung pong aking huling katanungan about where's the money, please, I am not criticizing anybody or putting down anybody. As a Christian, I support leadership and government. But I do have to remind our people in government, regardless of what position you occupy, you need to tell people what you're doing with the money. Wag purong trillion billion here, trillion billion here, hindi po ito bingo. Yung mga tao pong walang pera, nagtataka, nasa na yung pera, saan nyo ginagastos ang pera kung hindi sila nakakatikim ng pera. It's just a question of communications. We'll go for a quick break, and when we return, more here on Agenda. Okay, well, welcome back to Agenda. You are watching us on Signal TV via channels 8 and 250, as well as the Facebook platform of One News PH. And for those of you who have not subscribed to Signal TV, may I invite you to please join us for a more regular programming of One News PH. Marami pong programa ang One News at ang aming kumpanya, and hindi po ito commercial. I mean, if you want good information, join us, because that's what we really focus on, information. Now, speaking of information, we have with us a digital marketing veteran, editor-in-chief and founder of tech blog Unbox PH, also Vice President and Deputy Head for Public Affairs of PLDT, my friend Carlo Ople. Good morning, Carlo.
Good morning, Sito. Happy to be here with you today.
Well, you are the first mention as far as our topic today. Kasi alam mo, last week ko pa na mo monitor ito yung pumutok na balita abroad na may mga kumpanya, there are companies who have started pulling out their advertisements with Facebook. In fact, I think one of the biggest pulled out, I won't mention what company na, no? But they pulled out up to the end of 2020. And the claim is, kasi raw ang daming hate speech, ang dami raw mga unfiltered posts, etc. So I was saying to myself, finally, is Facebook now paying for its sin of omission. What say you, Carlo?
Well, I think it's before anything, no, let me just congratulate you for adopting really well to the digital space with what happened. Ang ganda na ng setup mo, maganda na yung ilaw tsaka yung microphone. So, 2 thumbs up. Naalala ko yung first setup mo. Ang laking upgrade na. So, congratulations muna for that.
Paano naman? Ang hirap kasing makabili ng camera. I had to wait 2 weeks online and then naghanap ako ng kung ano-anong ilaw, etc. But thank you for
Much better, bro.
mentioning that.
Much better. Okay.
By the way, because I also got professional help. I think it helps kasi marami ka ring mga followers. It helps to get professional help. I got
Yeah.
direct bang from an associate at TV5, and he helped us set up and gave us knowledge about cameras, resolutions, etc. In any case, thank you for the compliment. Okay, go ahead.
Anyway, so I think it was really in reaction to what happened. Diba, there was a recent incident na talagang nagkagulo ang US. And I think it was George Floyd, diba? And everything really turned upside down from there. I think it all stemmed from I think it was the post of the president. And it was something, a lot of people felt that it was like encouraging the military or the police to take action against protesters. And a lot of the companies really just disagreed, I guess, with what happened there. And Facebook's refusal to take down the post really triggered a lot of younger people, which in turn put pressure on a lot of advertisers, and advertisers responded to the pressure, some of them by pulling out the money that they've been spending on Facebook advertising. So I guess ultimately yun yung parang nangyari. Now, with regards to how I think and how I feel about that, I think it's natural every time there's protests and you put pressure on advertisers. Sometimes it really has a big effect. And actually, for the first time, ito yung pinakauna kong nakita talaga instance wherein Facebook is really feeling the pinch. Kasi before, you would always feel that they're invincible. Diba? Parang it's as if they're unassailable, na you cannot challenge them. But for now, you're starting to see even Mark Zuckerberg, who came out with a statement, na he's trying to make changes already in response to the protest.
Are they so big that it takes them so long to respond? Kasi it was for what? About a month? Isang buwan na rin yung mga protest na yan. And yung pushback against Facebook is like 2 weeks old. And you would think, 2 weeks, you lose billions in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Are they so big that they become so slow in responding?
And again, well, for one, I'm not from Facebook, so I can't give you like an exact answer from that. But from what I've seen, so I was able to visit their campus, I think 2 years ago or last year. And one of the things that they really espouse is agility and the hacker's mindset. Now you move as fast as possible. So if I were to just base it on my experience studying them and talking to some of the people over there, I think it's more of the overall corporate direction. I think Mark Zuckerberg has always maintained that he wanted to keep Facebook as neutral as possible. And that's the reason why he hasn't, I don't know, like removed posts that some people deem to be inciting and, and dangerous to society, because he doesn't want to be like the arbiter of truth. I think that's the most fundamental disagreement that Facebook has with a lot of protesters and a lot of other companies. It's that standing.
Yeah, but isn't that ironic, Carlo? And I'm going to you here as the expert because, I've had issues with them. I mean, not me personally, but just on principle. I've had issues with them blocking or no longer making available certain posts or certain things on Facebook. I mean, for instance, yung bang contrarian perspective on health issues related to COVID-19. A couple of doctors who spoke differently against the direction of Fauci or the medical group, biglang nawala yung mga post nila. And I think it was Facebook that came up with the statement that they are not in compliance with our community standards. So I find that ironic. They say they don't want to be the arbiter of truth, and yet at the same time, they have community standards that they set, which are apparently pro-Trump.
Actually, it's funny, no? They tried to explain that, or they explained
Oh.
it. They mentioned that if a post, despite violating community standards, be it, for example, a post from the president or a post from a particular interest group, as long as it is in the public interest to read that particular post, they, even if it violates their community standards, they will allow it to go up. So yung
Mhm.
ginagawa nila change right now, from what I've read, is that for instances like those, na it violates their community standards, but they feel like it is in the public interest for people to see that post, they will label it yata as either, I don't know, fake news, or that it violates their community standards, kind of like I think what Twitter is doing already. So I think
Mhm.
yun yung direction na sinusubukan nilang puntahan. Eh, alam mo, Sito, if they want to
Yeah.
change it, they can change it overnight. Kasi ganun kabilis gumalaw ang Facebook eh. You can see it with
Mhm.
all the updates that you see on your app, di ba? It almost happens regularly. And they
Yeah.
have one of the biggest like innovation and development engines and resource in the world. So
Yeah.
I think it's really a fundamental difference in how the founder and Facebook in general, siguro, looks at their role as a platform in society versus what some interest groups and society in general siguro wants them to be. So doon nagkakaroon ng friction. And I think that's the big debate that will happen in the next few weeks in the technology world. So it's very interesting, no? So sobrang bilis ng development ng side na yan ng technology.
Okay, now you were saying the big debate that will happen in the next 2 weeks. I'm thinking future. In 2 years from now, we're going to have the elections in the Philippines, and again, we've suffered from the accessibility of all parties to Facebook, and accessibility to post even the most bizarre, obscene, absurd information. Now, I know, in fairness to Facebook, they have cut out many how do you call it, fake accounts, fake blogs, or politically driven accounts. How do you see what's happening in the Philippines playing out in in America, playing out in the Philippines? Do you see advertisers doing the same thing in 2022 pagka uminit na yung kampanya dito?
Well, I think, number one, I think we'll have to cross the bridge when we get there because we don't know how the situation is going to be here in the Philippines. No, but interesting that you mentioned how the Philippines will follow the US in terms of Facebook. But what's keen to take note of is a lot of the things that happens in the Philippines is actually parang world first. What do I mean by that? For example, a lot of the issues that with regards to sabihin natin elections, tayo yung
Hmm.
nagiging case study, ito sumusunod yung ibang mundo pagdating sa Facebook. Parang lang tayo yung nangunguna pagdating sa issue. So,
Okay. No,
nakakaliw lang.
what's your take? Kasi ako, there's something that currently irritates me. That I think is a new trend or new thing in Facebook. May papanoorin ka o may binabasa ka, biglang may papasok na advertisement in the middle. Unannounced, no? Meron pang maliit na ad coming up. But
Yeah,
I think I'd like to think I'm not the only one who gets annoyed or irritated by this.
yeah.
Uh, is this good for advertisers? Kasi parang dati I didn't mind if there was advertisements at the tail end or before the video. Pero ngayon, medyo in the middle of the video or whatever, or the article, biglang may pop-up. Uh, what's your reaction to this?
Well, ako personally, I don't like it also. So one of the
Mm.
great things that their competitor did, diba, YouTube, they allowed a premium model. So wherein you pay a monthly subscription, that's not too big an amount, and then you don't have to see any more ads. So that's one way other platforms are addressing it. So maybe in
Ah,
the future, Facebook can come up with a similar feature wherein people who don't want to see ads will just have
mm,
to pay for a certain amount. Because if you think about it, diba, Facebook, YouTube, and
mm,
a lot of the other platforms are technically like free. So they
mm.
have to find a way to monetize and to make money out of it. Otherwise, they'll be put out of
You
business.
know, that's why I like talking to you. Now I learned something new. Meron palang YouTube Premium. Mas gusto
Yeah,
ko pang panoorin yung mga tutorials sa YouTube. So I'll do that. Now that you're giving tutorials to us, uh, may, may may I ask, kasi there's an ongoing debate in the household, okay? There are those people on Facebook who are posting uh oh, I did this. Clicked this and I discovered that many of my friends have not been able to communicate with me on Facebook. So if you press the button on any part of this post, yung bang sinasabi yung ano yun, algorithm ng Facebook, sineselect lang
Ah,
daw yung favorite mo, yung iba hindi mo na ngayon
yeah.
nababalita. Ano ba yun? Peke. My wife says it's BS.
Well, the Facebook algorithm, from what I've studied, both as a publisher and as in my discussions with different people who market and promote on Facebook, the
Mm.
algorithm really reacts to what you interact with on the site. So if Facebook sees, for example, that you are liking and sharing posts of a particular person, mas
Mm.
mataas yung chance na yung updates ng person na yon will appear on your newsfeed. In the same
Okay.
way, for example, na if you like, share, comment on a Facebook page of a brand or a business. So, mas mataas din lalabas yon. So, they will reward engagement kasi they feel like you're spending more time or you're using the platform more. Now, of course,
Mm.
yung opposite yan, if hindi mo na check yung profile ng isang tao, pag hindi mo na linalike, hindi mo na kino-comment, hindi mo na share, mataas din yung chances na hindi na siya lalabas sa feed mo. Unless may ginawa siyang post na maraming nag-like, then it sends a trigger to the algorithm for it to appear again on your news feed. So that's how
Oh.
the news feed works. It
Oh.
curates content that
Oh.
you see based on your interactions and your
Yeah,
engagement.
pero yung post na sinasabi nilang, do this, you click here, and mababalik. You will find a way of, how do you call it, circumventing the algorithm.
You can. There are two ways. Number one, there is a feature called See First. So it's on Facebook. So I just forget where specifically it is, but you can specifically pick people or pages that you will automatically see on your news feed. So for
Mhm.
example, if people want to hear more from you, Sito, kanyari sa Facebook page mo, you should
Mhm.
encourage people, for example, to put you as a See First on their feed para palaging lalabas yung mga post mo, yung mga commentary mo, yung mga videos mo, lalabas
Mhm.
yun palagi sa newsfeed nila.
Mhm.
On my end, what I do is I put see first on a lot of the news, lalo na yung mga digital news sites that I follow. So every
Yeah.
time I log on Facebook, hindi lang ako nakikichismis ano nangyayari sa mga kaibigan ko, but it's also like a curated platform where I get to receive the news that I find interesting. But it takes
Oh.
initial effort. Hanapin mo yung mga pages, tapos see
Oh.
first mo sila. Pero eventually noon, parang magazine mo na siya.
Okay, kasi ako naman kiniklik ko lang usually follow. Now, you know, at least para masabi mo naman na pinapalo kita. I was a bit concerned the other day. You had this post or this video where you were talking about, you know, about people who nabuburyong na, or who feel inundated by negativity, na they
Yeah.
should, you know, if they can, they should tune out of the news first. Pakikwento mo nga sa viewers natin, what led to that na you're telling people, you know, tune out if you're feeling so bad already because you need a break.
Well, that really came about when a couple of people asked me what I would suggest kasi lagi na
Mhm.
daw sila masyadong nega sa buhay or masyado na sila anxious with the current situation. And then I
Mhm.
asked them, what do you read ba every day? And they said, it's really the deluge of news na negative or the deluge of complaints that they see of various people on their social media feeds about the current situation. So
Mhm.
parang it's kind of parang obvious, at least in my opinion, that if you want to parang protect your mental health, may hangganan tayong lahat eh. So if you
Yeah.
keep on bombarding yourself with negativity, if you keep on reading things that make you upset, and again, we all have different parang tolerance points, no? Some
Yeah.
people have really high tolerance for negativity and news kasi they take a look at it from a different perspective. But some
Mm.
people kasi receive it really bad. And my suggestion lang to people like those who have trouble being able to deal with negativity or toxicity that way is for them to disconnect for a bit. Parang and focus
Mhm.
on things that make them happy. So parang you don't necessarily have to read every single negative thing that's out there or watch every negative thing that's out there. Diba? Just focus on the things that make you smile. And maybe kahit temporary lang kasi syempre it's good to be informed. It's good to be educated with what's happening. But if nandun ka na sa breaking point mo, one of the best things that you can do is really step back and disconnect and just focus on yourself and your family and what makes you happy. And when you're ready again, when you're healthy again mentally, spiritually, physically, then you can go back and face the world again, the negative
Okay.
world.
Well, it's interesting because my last question is this, okay? I have had viewers who actually asked, Sito, what is that behind you? And sabi ko, ha? Naka-text, no? And we have been arguing whether it is a jukebox or an old, you know. And of course, I had to present na may jukebox. Ngayon, na-intrigue naman ako sa background mo. Puro,
Yeah.
puro sneakers. I mean, sorry, ano, napapaghalata yung edad ko, sneakers, rubber shoes, no? I don't even know what you kids call them nowadays. But aside from the rubber shoes, what are those boxes behind you? Are those toy cars
Those
or
ones.
what?
Ah, well, I collect kasi ano eh. So I'm a collector of sneakers and like limited edition toys. So I look at it
Mm,
as a tangible, different form of investment. I usually sell them every now and then if the value appreciates. So
mhm,
the sneakers obviously are shoes that I like and I collect. Their value
mhm,
goes up and down. And the toys over there are mostly they're called Funko Pops. I think a lot of young people are really hooked on them now. I look at
mhm.
them as a parang long-term thing. Some of the Funko Pops there, I think I bought at like 500 pesos. They're now like at 1.5. So nakakaaliw eh how value is being placed on different things these
Mhm.
days. Dati, as ano lang yan, eh, di ba? Pera or bonds or stocks or real estate.
Yeah.
Now, even toys have value that go up and down. So it's just an interesting world that I'm into.
Yeah, but do you sell those rubber shoes as well? Kasi may mga nagsasabi, pag hindi mo ginagamit yan, hindi mo sinusuot yan, yung pandikit niyan, matatanggal, nga yan, etc. Is it really a worthwhile investment? The
Ako,
shoes,
I
huh?
sell when the value goes up. Eh. So the moment I can possibly sell it, then I let it go. Kasi nga I'm not like super emotionally attached to the collection. It looks like I am, but if you take a look at, for example, my YouTube channel for the last few months, you will see that the background constantly changes, either the shoes or the toys. Kasi when I feel that it's time already to cash in, then I do
Mhm.
that. So it's really just a balance. Kasi kung hindi, sito papatay na ako ng misis ko. so, so dapat balance lang, di ba?
I think she belongs to the same army that my wife belongs to.
Ayun.
The fun marshals.
Yes, exactly. May tinuro
It,
siya sa akin eh. Ano ba yun?
oh,
Unload to reload. Bago ka bumili, magbenta ka muna. O, di ba? Wisdom.
she's my wife is watching the show, you know. So
Ay,
can you just stop repeating those messages? Okay. In, in any case, Carlo, it's a really interesting conversation, and I do hope we get to do more of this because it's obvious that your generation and the generation after you are really into the internet, to the website, and Facebook and Twitter, and that our conversations are just going to keep on going as things develop. In any case, thank you for your valuable inputs. I will go to YouTube Premium, and please stay safe. Hey, oh, by the way, I remember when I first met you, you were about 3 times my size. And now we're roughly about the same size already. So you've also done a good job. Looking
yeah,
good,
working
bro.
on it. Working on it. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you and I appreciate your show and everybody watching. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carlo. That's Carlo Ople, digital marketer, tech blogger. Uh, I mean, just when it comes to this, that's the guy to go to. In any case, it's 9:28, and I just want to take this time just to encourage all of you out there. Because quite honestly, if we go to the newspaper, as Carlos said, you can just burn out. And the fact is, I just found out that the rapid passes that they give for the highways, etc., so you can go on the fast lane, they have a new extension deadline period. Mag-expire yung mga bagong rapid passes December 2020. So, what does that tell you? Obviously, those in charge believe that this problem of quarantine and COVID 19 will still be our major problem up to December 2020, if not beyond. If you look at the headlines, it's the same stuff. But that's why I decided this morning to open up the day with that prayer from Philippians that in all things go to God, in all things pray, because you know I'm in the same situation. I have to absorb so much news every day. I have to really study a lot of this stuff, but I just kind of chill. I do my to-do list, my projects at home, spend time with my wife and my daughter. We make plans for the future, even if that is not a sure thing anymore. But we make plans and we lift it up to God. Please do likewise. Find time to read the Bible. Find time to basically find inspiration, because that will make a big difference for you. Please take care of yourself, take care of your health, observe social distancing, wear a mask, hand washing, and continue to pray. God bless all of you. I'm Zito Beltran, and that's today's agenda.